finished.
Sorry to interrupt.
Jack Riccardi, 9 till 1, 550 KTSA.
550 KTSA news time is 10:10. Good morning. Welcome to Halloween weekend. We kick off the weekend with a 90-minute Gang of Four. The gang is here. I mean, not that frightening, you know, but we'll see.
See my earrings?
You should have seen me 2 hours ago before the moisturizer.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, it's an elite and very distinguished gang today. We welcome back to the gang Cathey Meyer, who's a middle school English teacher and a former FBI agent. She's wearing her all-black Texas Rangers shirt,
Go Rangers.
mourning the outcome
Up
of
late
Game
last
6.
night.
Yeah, we all were up late. And look at those earrings. Can we get a close-up on...
Dios de los
Those
Muertos.
are Halloween
I'm
specific,
ready to go.
aren't they?
I'm a fashion faux pas on many levels, but I'm covering a lot of territory.
You got a lot of territory covered there. And I appreciate someone who dresses for Gang of Four. Thank you for
You're
that.
welcome. Good morning, Aunt Jeannie and Uncle Bill.
Your fans.
Uncle Bill's on the road to Luling. Aunt Jeannie's in a rehab center with some health issues, but they still listen.
Big fans. All right. Also on the show today, he's joining us from a smash set of appearances in London. Ken Slavin. What is going on with you?
Well, that trip to London, Jeff. First of all, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, welcome back.
But it was a promotional trip. It wasn't performing this time around. I was quote unquote discovered by a music promoter on YouTube about a year ago, and
Just like Justin Bieber.
Is that how it started with him?
Exactly.
She asked if I could do that. I said with a wig, maybe. He found me. He friended me on Facebook. We wrote back and forth for months, and then I found out that he had founded an indie record label that his son runs, and it's not jazz. And he had never worked with a jazz artist before. But he took a liking to me, and he asked me for some of my promo materials, and he said, "Let me test the waters in London for you, if you don't mind." I said, "Of course I don't mind." Well, the next thing I knew, he had booked me on an interview on BBC Radio in London for their top program. Late night. It's called Late Nights with Joanne Good. And then he arranged meetings with all the booking managers at the top jazz clubs in London. They had all heard my demo and my CD and everything. Took me around to a lot of different places, and then meetings with a couple of potential managers, booking agents. The goal is in 2012 for me to make a London debut and do maybe a week or 10 days worth of performances at different clubs in the city.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, I'm really
You're
excited.
in San Antonio.
I'm in San Antonio. He finds me on.
Finds you on YouTube.
Yeah, and he's 71 years old too.
Yeah.
He's basically retired, and he writes everything on a little phone. He doesn't even have a laptop computer.
Was there any part of you, Ken, that thought, this could be some sort of weird, I might never be seen again.
Yes.
I'll wake up in a bathtub full of ice with no kidneys or something. I mean,
it's funny you should say that, because I made sure that I timed my trip to be when a friend of mine from the city of San Antonio was over there on business, and that she knew exactly where I was.
You told people,
and
if you don't hear from me.
Yes, and I made sure they had all the phone numbers and everything. Because I thought about that, because on the first day he picked me up at the hotel, and we got in the car and we started driving out of the city toward the English countryside.
Then he put a rag over Ken's face.
In a Fiat,
And Taylor can back me up on this, right? When we saw Ken posting this stuff on Facebook, I became very worried. And I remember saying, oh, God, I hope this isn't they're not taking advantage of him. This isn't some big scam.
Well, thank you for worrying.
I know you're a grown-up and you can handle yourself.
Well, and that was
it was so out of the blue, you know what I mean?
It had been in the works, actually, for a couple of months, and he had asked me not to say anything
That's how they
yet.
work.
I'm happy for you. Glad that you have your kidneys.
I have my kidneys. I'm intact, and I actually think I'm certain something good is going to come of it. And if nothing else, the BBC interview was incredible, and I think that there's going to be some stuff that goes from that. I do want to say thank you for being the voice for one of my clients this time around at the Texas Patriot Festival.
Oh yeah, we're looking forward to
yeah, you'll be involved with that in a couple of
Day.
weeks. So I really appreciate we heard your spots. They sound great, and the station's doing a wonderful job on the videos and everything else.
Well, thank you. You're very welcome.
Thank you for asking.
All right, Ken Slavin is here, and Robert Fleming is here from Magnolia Pancake Haus.
Yeah.
Good morning.
He's not wearing any Halloween garb. He doesn't have earrings on today.
Sorry, no.
I'm glad that phase is over. Now,
So
your
am
big
I.
news, you're still in the midst of working on a second Magnolia Pancake
Yes,
House.
we are, despite the many fits and starts and some frustrations with the folks down at City Hall. We're off and running and digging dirt and doing all that good stuff. And people ask me, when do we think we'll open? And, well, you know, not when I think we'll open.
Yeah.
We'll see what comes up with the city. And, of course, Monday night, big doings for us Monday night, 9 o'clock, Food Network, Diners, Drive-Ins, and
Yes.
Dives.
Wow, that's
Our
great.
segment will air. We are the last of the 7 San Antonio restaurants that were filmed last February to be aired. So I think that maybe that's our
You
place
and
of
Guy
prominence.
Fieri.
Guy Fieri, please. An Italian, a paisan like you should.
Fieri.
Should know how to pronounce
And
his name.
you got any
How long
inside
did you have to
information?
keep that
Can you-
secret? Didn't you have to keep
Yeah,
that
Yeah,
secret
we did.
for-
Yeah, we really weren't allowed to talk too much
Right.
about it until, and they kind of took the, once they gave us an air date, they kind of took the gloves off.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
That's
you
a great
so much.
hit.
Yeah,
That's
we're
wonderful.
very happy and very honored to
See, and they didn't steal him away.
All right, so, well, I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, for some reason, I wasn't worried that he would be abducted. Like
Yeah.
you were going to London. You were going by
I don't
yourself.
have any internet stalkers.
You've been, I just
You
thought,
will after they see your show.
probably.
Ken wants this so badly. God, I just he might fall for the wrong thing, or
You know, that
He's
was
so
really,
impressionable.
I'm going to tell you, that's really nice of you to even worry. But
I
believe-
worry.
Believe me, we checked it all out
All
before
right,
I went.
good,
Yeah.
good. All right, let me start with you, Robert.
Sure.
Are you the 99%? Are you the 1%? Are you? There's now this new thing. We are the 53%. What are
in
you?
The 50, I'm definitely in the 53% for sure.
The 53% are people who say, look, if about 47% of Americans don't pay federal income taxes, we're the 53% who do. And we're now making noise. People are starting to put stuff on YouTube and Facebook
Yep.
in response to the Occupy Wall Street.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, I think that I am one of the 53%. Would I like to be one of the 1%? Well, who wouldn't? I think, you know, everybody, and even those of the 99 that are occupying Wall Street. I think when you kind of talk to them, you see the stuff that's on the net and not so much on the TV. They kind of aspire to be there too. They may not come out and say it, but I think they kind of aspire, and I think we all do. You know, kind of aspire. I think it's kind of funny when I see people like Russell Simmons and Kanye West down there who are clearly in the 1%, especially Russell Simmons. You know, they're being so disingenuous.
Oh, and who, you know, they benefited from a capitalist society. That's
Yeah,
what-
you know.
Well, they're giving out T-shirts with their logos on them, so they come out
Yeah,
ahead
you
on
know, and I think so. I think that people, especially those of us, you know, who are there, are starting to say, "Hey, look, you know, nice thought, but there's no there."
Two cities this week, the city of Atlanta, the city of Oakland, tried to clear out their Occupy demonstrators. It seemed to work in Atlanta, but in Oakland, the mayor of Oakland has now come out and said, "Oh, I didn't know the police were going to do that." Great mayor. And so she's allowed them back into the park or the place where they were hanging out. How does this Occupy movement end? Because they're not going to get free college tuition for all or
Nope.
the forgiveness of all debt. So does this end with them being arrested and cleared out, Cathey? And is that in fact maybe what they want? Or does it end because winter's coming and they're not going to be able to stay outside? Or
Well, I think I'd be interested to know where the original master plan was, because somebody developed this concept, and this is the new communication. I mean, this is all viral, and we've never had to cope with this before at this mass level. This is like the ultimate flash mob.
Yeah,
And-
I would agree with you. I think somebody has organized this, and you know, you see little bits here. Was it something that George Soros funded? Was it something that grew out of the old Acorn? You know, but this clearly is not just something that just came together on its own, and it had a plan. But more importantly, Jack, I think what we're going to see, or what we may see, certainly on the New York side, is when the weather turns. And from what I read, you know,
getting snow today?
about half of these people really are, some are homeless, some are just, you know, aimless youth, if you will. They're really not fully invested in what, you know, the core of the group believes in. They're just there for the party, is what it sounds like. It was interesting, they did one in the Occupy London where they took a heat thermograph night thing, and they kind of went through and found that like 85 or 90% of the tents at Occupy London are actually vacant at night. There's nobody in them.
I think there's going to be just a gradual petering out, because I don't think it has legs. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think it has legs. And I'm not talking about just the weather. I just don't think it's going to go on.
Well,
Has the media
but I mean,
really tired
I
of it
even
as well?
saw. I didn't even know this was happening. Last weekend was my first singing weekend since getting back from the trip, and Occupy Austin is happening across the street from Three Forks. It's at City Hall, because City Hall's right there, and it didn't look like much of a crowd to me. They said they'd been there for a couple of weeks, but it didn't. It looked mostly like college.
Well, Austin is always kind of occupied, so that's not.
It didn't look like huge crowds, and I have not believed all along that this was a something with true legs.
I think it's very different.
You think it is?
I think this is the initial push to see what would happen, see who you attract, and I do think the weather will have an effect, and it will die off for a while. But
and don't you think it'll also die? Don't you just think other people will die a natural death because they're not really?
I think they're going to get in there and really kind of organize something serious now that they know they can make a turnout. And then when you get into the election process and you get people needing to get attention, I think there's going to be a massive turnaround in the spring.
But look at when you say they can get a turnout. If you look at what it's been in New York, it's been 1,000, maybe 1,500 people. What is there? There's how many people live on the island of Manhattan alone?
9 million.
Yeah, okay. So we're not talking about a huge percentage of the people.
But of course, what you see are the media images, like you would even overseas during, when it'll look like millions of people are exploding.
It's 100 or 200, and the thing is, I think that the media is losing interest in it as well, because they really haven't come out, Cathey, with this is what we think, this is what we want.
Well, it's because so many people have jumped on the bandwagon who have agendas that have nothing to do with being upset about being disenfranchised or anything. It's just a bunch of crazies.
But that's what I'm saying. I think there's some Karl Rove-like person out there that may be able to vest this into something.
Well, Carl's not doing anything right now. So.
And eventually it'll make a statement. They're not really making a specific statement. I agree with you both. I think 80% of the people out there.
Do you think we're just at the very beginning of this?
I do.
But Cathey, I mean, a lot of people draw a comparison between this and the Tea Party. The Tea Party had a message and they had it out there right away.
Well, but they also had achievable goals, which then got achieved.
That's also true. But what I'm saying is that Occupy's been there since late August, early September, and they still don't have that codified message. And so I don't think they can get a rebirth because they never had something to act on in the first place.
What would be, Cathey, if they can be marshaled into an effective organization? What would be the achievable goal? What would be the place where you would declare victory? The Tea Party could say, well, we changed Congress.
Sure.
We held a historic election in 2010. We did that. Not that they're done, but that's something they could declare victory with.
Well,
right?
and I don't know. I mean, it's interesting because you look at them now, and they got media attention, and it's not exactly a slow news day. I mean, they've really pulled some consistent attention from the media, and I think that some either savvy political organization, and I'm not saying necessarily one of the major parties, but you were talking this morning about that third party movement.
Right.
And if you could corral and organize these people with a specific message, and that's what I'm saying. I'm saying over the quiet time.
But to do what?
to sway voters,
I think they'd have a hard time because whatever political part or faction decided to co-opt them is how I would view it. I think they're going to have a problem because there's too much footage out there of people making really very anti-Semitic remarks that are much harsher than anything that you could hang on. And stupid, and a lot of stupid.
I don't think the Democrats want to own this, right?
But also, no, I don't think so. Well, they're also criticizing the very people who would be funding their campaigns.
Well, right. So, again, I guess the question would be if, and by the way, you can go to ktsa.com, keyword Jack, and see Andrew Breitbart has some interesting theories about how this got funded and how this got started. We have the video posted. I guess I still wonder, what is the end game? What do you achieve that allows you to pull down your tent and fold up your sign and go home? Is there something? Is it political?
I don't think
is
they
it,
necessarily needed. I think it was a push to see, can you gather a mass of people and can you get attention and can you create a message? And I think
so. That was in it. So
I think
they've already
that
done
was
it.
the goal. I think they can gather a mass of people, they can get media attention, and now the third step would be, all right, if we did this again, how
What's
can
the
we
end
really
game?
corral it with a specific goal? I don't think they had.
See, I think they've set themselves up though by referring to the 99%, because if you believe that you represent the 99%, you've got to pull more than 1,500
But
people in
they can
Manhattan.
reformat and change. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to come back as the same group. I'm saying it's going to come back as a massive statement. Now, somebody out there understands we can corral a large group of people
Right.
in a short period of time. We can get media attention, and we can lay out a message. So not necessarily the same organization, but the same style.
I think a lot of what you're saying maybe applies to the Occupy Wall Street, the New York faction, but when you start looking at Los Angeles, Oakland, Cleveland, some of these others, they've got a much higher fringe element than, say, the New York group does.
My favorite story out of Occupy Wall Street was that they're starting to fight over the money.
Oh, yeah.
And it turns out that you have to fill out forms
They don't like that.
to get money. And I thought, you're Occupy Wall Street, you have forms? You have actual paperwork?
Oh, how
I mean,
about the one who was
imagine
looking
how
for a
fast that
sleeping
happened.
bag and was told, no, it doesn't belong to you, it belongs to the Comfort
It's like
Committee.
Lord,
And-
yeah, the comfort. It's like Lord of the Flies. All right, we're back with actual flies. We're back with more Gang of Four, the big stories of the day and the week. But first, into the 550 KTSA newsroom. We thought we'd play some music from Ken Slavin's new homeland.
I'll be hanging out with Sir Mick.
No, not my new homeland.
Maybe staying in the
Just hopefully
carriage
a place to
house.
sing for a while.
It's amazing. During the break, he was studying the flowchart of the British royal family. It's really serious about
It's
this.
not.
He really thinks his best in is with Harry.
All right, so we have Ken Slavin of the United Kingdom on Gang of Four today. We have Cathey Meyer wearing her Halloween. I don't know what.
Those are Day of the Dead.
Yes, they're my Day of
I'm
the Dead
afraid to look
earrings.
directly at them. I'm afraid,
They're
afraid to
skeleton
smell them.
devils, right?
Yes, and I
She has,
went
like,
red
demons.
to scare the
Yeah,
cardinals.
red demon. Oh, I see. And that was a joke there, but I'm
Don't
not
be
gonna make it.
afraid. Don't be afraid.
And then Robert Fleming is here from Magnolia Pancake Haus. By the way, Game 7. Who takes Game 7?
Before last night, I would have liked the Rangers in a Game 7, but now that we are going to have the pitcher that served up, 17 runs the other night?
That and just the Cardinals have got something going
At
on
home,
now.
the Mo shifted.
Man.
The Mo shifted.
Yeah.
Right in the 8th inning, too, man. That
Mo
hurt.
shifted last night. Big
All right, so
time.
we're a little worried about the Rangers.
Very worried.
All right. We were talking about this earlier. It's our poll question today. Ron Paul doing pretty well in the polls, sitting about 3rd place in the Republican race for president. But do we all agree they're not going to nominate him at the end? I mean, he's not going to get it at the end. And if he was
Not unless all the other cats are on a bus that goes off the
Thank
cliff.
you. I mean, I don't think they'd let him. I don't want to sound all conspiracy theorist, but they're not going to let him get this.
No.
So he was asked, would you be potentially this third-party candidate that everyone is rumoring and thinking about and assuming will be around next year? And he doesn't exactly say yes. He doesn't exactly say no. Should Ron Paul run as a third-party candidate?
Only if he would like President Obama reelected.
So the only thing that happens there is you
Absolutely.
you
I
divide
think-
the opposition, you hand it to Obama.
Yep.
Well, and it's a visit with Ralph Nader as well. I mean, it's not that different from what
No,
Ralph
yeah.
Nader's attempted
But
to
he has a
do.
lot more supporters than Ralph Nader. You
Well,
have to admit that.
Ralph Nader laid that groundwork for how this is done. So he's at least got a game plan and he knows what to anticipate and what to expect. But I can't imagine that.
I
he
think
has a
Ron
prayer.
Paul might draw some voters too, who may or may not support the president. But I think that that if there's not a Ron Paul, those voters may not vote anyways.
I agree with that.
Ralph Nader doesn't even run as a Democrat. He goes right to the independent or what is it, Green Party, I guess, actually.
Well, I think
Whoever
that
will
was the
have
third
him.
run.
Why is Ron Paul even in the Republican Party?
You know, that's a good question, because probably he would never get elected as a Democrat. They'd kick him right the hell out.
But I mean, why is he running in a party that treats him like the crazy uncle, that doesn't come to him for a question in the debate, that's never going to nominate him? I mean, literally,
And he's
Robert,
been
if
there-
that bus did go off the cliff,
He's been
they
there
still would
20-some
nominate.
years, and I don't think he's more than, say, the coffee guy on any committee in the Congress.
What is the point?
I have no idea. I have
It's
none.
interesting to me what his appeal is, because I have two very interesting brothers politically. And-
Interesting brothers.
Well, I mean, we're all pretty much
Do you have
independent.
two brothers, or do you have only two interesting brothers?
Well, both of those.
Both of your brothers?
There are four that we don't talk
Yeah, I'm
about.
gonna get
Those are the boring, uninteresting.
Thanksgiving is coming
These
up. I
are the
want to sow
ones the
seeds at
DNA
this
have
point.
proven that we
Okay.
are related. But they have been Ron Paul fans since day one.
Right.
And I didn't even know who Ron Paul was until they started talking about him. Neither one of them live in Texas, but they are still huge Ron Paul supporters.
Right.
And I have never truly understood the appeal, because they're extremely polar different people. One's very wealthy, into business, very, very concerned about his taxes. The other one tries to work as least as possible and pay as few taxes as possible. And those polar opposites are attracted by this same candidate.
Well, I mean, the guy's got very powerful ideas, but when people say to me, well, it's good that he's in the race, really, they're not paying any attention to him. They're about to nominate a guy who's like the anti-Ron Paul. So I don't see how his being in the Republican Party is having an influence on the Republican Party.
Well,
I mean,
not-
he's
maybe-
not even influencing the debate in any great way.
Well, could it just be simply that he believes in what he's doing, or
I think he does.
And he just wants to be a voice and prove that in the American system you can be, whether you're the front runner or not.
But would he have a better platform if he wasn't trying to be, play by their rules and fit into their little field? I mean, he's at a party where no one is talking to him. No one is coming up to him and striking up a conversation. It's like he could just leave the party, they wouldn't even notice. So my question is, if you've got these ideas and you've got this huge core of people like Cathey's brothers who would follow you through a wall of fire, why do you need to be in the Republican Party? They don't want you. You don't need them.
Because if he tried to do this completely outside, I don't think he would have the exposure, the critical mass, the legitimacy
I think the legitimacy
that
is
he
a big
needs
part of
to at least get the message out. And
Has he ever tried to be outside?
Yeah, he ran as an independent.
I just don't really know a lot about him, and he didn't get anywhere with that.
No.
Because the independent
And,
doesn't
and
really
it's
get
not
much
like he's
anyway.
a spring chicken, isn't he? He's in his mid-70s.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised when I thought he was a lot younger for some reason. And that's going to take the wind out of his sail, a big campaign like this.
He may just be, ideologically committed to his ideas, and
I think
he says
he is.
Oh, that's
he
absolutely
feels,
the
he
case.
feels he's an American, and he's going to stand up and do whatever he wants to do.
So if that's the case, Ken, is it okay to run and say, this might hand it to Obama, but it's so important that I get these ideas out there and I give people a real choice, because they don't really have much of a choice with these two parties. Is it worth running and losing, and maybe even in losing, re-electing President Obama?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, he obviously doesn't care about party. That's not his issue.
And why he hasn't really more closely associated himself with the Libertarian Party and the Libertarian movement. He is very closely associated with it, but I think that if he became the standard bearer for the Libertarians, it would give some credibility to the Libertarians, more credibility to the Libertarians.
Is there anybody who, if they stood apart from the two parties and ran in 2012, could actually win? They're thinking. That's the sound.
That's not
That's
good
the
on
sound
radio.
of
when
no,
it's
for-
silent.
For me, at this point, no one stands out that way. I just keep watching with awe at the number of people who are still debating in the Republican debates, and how they're just diluting everything about the party and making it weaker and weaker.
Yeah, I would agree there. I think that this whole debate canard has become absolutely
Well,
ridiculous.
they're tearing themselves
That's
apart,
right. They're
and
just
it's making it
violating Reagan's first rule: don't speak ill of other Republicans. I think the only guy in the whole thing that has been somewhat above that is Gingrich, when he says, I'm not worried about Romney or Perry scaring the American people. I'm more worried about the president scaring the American people. I think that of the guys that are there, maybe Gingrich is the guy. maybe he could be the guy. I'm not saying he is.
Speaking of the debates, this week the Perry campaign let it be known that they're not so sure their candidate's going to be showing up for those debates in the future. He's committed to the next one, which is in early November. But after that, they say, we might have some scheduling issues, we might have a better use of the time. Rick Perry has not done well in these debates, we all know that, but can he run and not be in these debates? Is that going to work?
See, for me, I'm clouded by his appeal because we're in Texas. We know Perry, name recognition is there. But when you travel out west, or if you travel up through the core of Middle America, I don't know if people understand who Rick Perry is or if they take him seriously. Is he just another one of the 8
I've been amazed from the start that he has gotten any traction because clearly the media hasn't really dug into him too much because they don't realize that in the state of Texas the governor really isn't much more than a figurehead. If you want to talk about the success of the state of Texas, go talk to the lieutenant governor, go talk to the speaker of the House who control the legislative calendar that make things happen that make us favorable to business.
Let's face the fact, some of the national analysis I've seen is they just automatically think he's another George Bush, you know, the left-leaning media, the left-leaning analysts and thinkers, so they're already dismissing him as
But is it important to be in the
George
debate?
Bush.
I mean, let's face it, presidents don't debate. The president doesn't go debate the president of China, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I would
debates
like
are...
to think that you could rise above that. I don't remember ever when we were younger, there weren't these number of
No, you didn't have
debates
you didn't
going
have
on.
9
I thought it only you had the,
Two or three
the
in the
original
fall of the
debate,
election.
the original televised debates were the 2 nominees,
Right.
Richard Nixon and John Kennedy.
Yeah,
it
right.
wasn't 12 people in one party
Well,
debating,
the
a year and a half before the election.
primary
To where you just
contest.
zone
So
out.
Ken, maybe it's time to say enough of this foolishness. I'm not going to show
I
up
almost
for these.
think it's a smart move, but I mean, you know.
I mean, it really it should be down to the debates amongst the primary contenders should happen more locally, less of this national 24-hour news cycle stuff. Get the top 3 people down here
On
to
the
San
other
Antonio and let them go at it for
On
an
the
hour.
other hand, if you're going to be president, and Ken, even you will admit this, you are going to have to show up for those main,
Yes.
big time,
Yes.
prime time, all the lights are on debate in the fall of the election
Yes,
year.
against the other major candidates.
So is it possible that Rick Perry would be losing an opportunity to show that he can stand toe-to-toe with Barack Obama? Aren't these debates a way for voters to see who would be best to send into that?
But they're not debating. He's not debating Obama at this stage.
No, but
he's
I mean, if he
debating a
can't
bunch of
handle-
other people in the party who hate
But if
each other.
he can't handle a debate with fellow Republicans, how well is he going to do in a debate with his mortal political
Well, I
enemy?
guess that's a good question.
Well, but
but
who is watching these debates? That's
I
what
haven't
I'm
watched
curious
one of them.
about.
Interestingly enough, they're drawing very big numbers.
Are
In
they
fact,
really?
twice the ratings of the debates.
all
from
I've
years
seen
ago.
is
Oh,
the
really?
recaps at the end of each time, and where they zoom in on
bites.
this shoulder touching thing going on with Romney and oh, I'm sorry.
Ken's turning his mic off.
They're-
That's my
See?
job, Ken.
No,
I'll shut you up when it's
No,
done.
what I'm saying, all I've seen are the recaps. I absolutely can't stand to watch the full debates. They're driving me
But
crazy.
they
I'm with
profile
you.
who the viewers are. Who are the people watching them?
Well, I don't know who
the
they are,
talk
but I'm just
radio
saying
listeners
they
you're
appear to
talking
be
about?
they appear to be drawing a lot of interest. And let's remember, they've already had a profound effect on the pecking order of these candidates. So clearly they're doing something. But I think you could argue both. You could argue that it's too soon. There's too many.
It is too soon. The whole campaign's
But
too
you
soon.
could also argue that if voters feel this is a very important choice, and they're very amped up about beating Obama, then they want to see who has the chops, who can put the message across, who's able to articulate a really different idea.
Then I think that you've hit on it there. Then that's why I think Herman Cain is doing so well, because
Yeah.
in that format, he does exceptionally well. His message is direct, and it resonates with people across all different social and economic strata. And whether you like the guy, you don't like the guy, he's definitely connecting.
Well, and who's to say that the old-fashioned way of going one-on-one with the potential voters around the country and then waiting about the debate till closer to the election is wrong? What's so wrong about that?
You know what I think it is, Ken? I think there's so much spin and packaging. And these debates, for all their flaws, and there are many flaws, there have been some authentic moments when somebody had to think on their feet or got that deer in the headlight look. We crave that authenticity because there's so little of it in politics these days. And when